If travel broadens the mind, transportation wearing this badge is one of the best excuses to venture into the world and learn. And the education starts with, this is no ordinary Porsche. First, it's a Panamera, and it's a Sport Turismo. See the wagony back end? And finally, this. The e-hybrid is a plug-in system. I'm on an 8-day tour of the southern United States with my wife Mariko, and some of it will be done without dinosaur juice. So I'm not just going to talk about this car, I'm going to discuss plug-in hybrids as well. Plus, you're going to see what I did on my vacation. Lucky you. It all started back in Atlanta. Excuse me, Atlanta. Apparently the second T is silent. The reason I'm starting here is because this is a working vacation of sorts, and it starts with picking up the Panamera I'm reviewing at Porsche's U.S. headquarters. If you didn't know, Atlanta's film industry is going gangbusters, and this building happens to be the on-screen headquarters for the Avengers. You can have your new car delivered here, and a pro driver will school you on the center's track. This would be the only one I can afford right now. Tour the restoration center where parts are made by hand, maybe linger in the rotating museum collection and check out some of Hurley Haywood's race cars, or John Oates' tractor. Yes, Porsche made them years ago. I could linger here all day, but we have places to go and waffle houses to eat at. Besides, Mariko can only take so much car talk, bless her patient heart. So while she and Frank chat about Avengers Endgame, I will show you how big the boot is. No TP this time, honestly. Luggage is a pretty useful way to measure the cargo space, since it often goes back here. Ours fits just fine. I normally travel pretty light, but my video gear and gifts take up space. You see, I'm off to visit my parents who retired near the coast, a solid 5-hour drive from here. Doing that kind of mileage, nothing beats a grand touring machine like the Panamera. I've set the adaptive air suspension with adjustable dampers to comfort. All right, headed out of town. It's Friday, it's rush hour, and I'm surprised traffic is this light because one source I read said Atlanta's traffic is among the worst in the country. I wish Seattle was this bad. A couple things. I passed a few automotive plants on the trip. Telluride, Sorrento, and Optima are built here. Consider that I'm cruising at well over the speed limit. Then consider this. Who knew smart cars could go over 50 miles an hour? And if you thought I was kidding about Waffle House, we don't have them in the Pacific Northwest. They're kind of forbidden fruit. I do love the pecan waffles and the hash browns smothered. I'm enjoying this way too much. At my folks' house, I'm able to charge the e-hybrid up overnight using standard current. To get my observed average range of 23 miles, it takes around 12 hours. Obviously, level 2 would be faster, around 6. The Voelks are into electrification. I own an ELR, Mariko a Volt, my brother has a Nissan Leaf. My dad bought a Chrysler Pacifica e-hybrid because he does a lot of hauling, and they got a new dog, Ruby. And hold on the gratuitous cute dog shot. And moving on. My dad figures a level 2 charger isn't worth the cost, so the Pacifica also charges on standard current.
It's working out. I charge it when I come home, usually overnight. The next day I'm ready to go. And I've got another 35 miles. So why spend the money for a 220?
Charging nightly, the Panamera covered some 200 miles of electrified travel on our trip. The 14 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery is in the cargo hold. Along with an electric propulsion motor, there's a twin-turbo 2.9-liter V6. This dynamic duo provides a total of 462 horsepower. Of the 4 available Panamera drivetrains, the e-hybrid's power is bested only by the turbo model, though this is heavier than a standard Panamera 4S by some 650 pounds. The extra punch of Sport Chrono is standard kit on this model. The transmission is an 8-speed dual clutch, or PDK in Porsche speak. That 4, that's all-wheel drive. The hybrid system has different modes for, say, delaying the use of the electric side for city use, where it's most efficient. The V6 can even charge the battery, though that's not very efficient. After playing with the settings a bit, I just left it in automatic. Okay, just want to show you that this car operates like a regular hybrid. You take off on electric power, and then put your foot into it, and the gas engine comes on, just like a Prius, only good looking and fast. I had to say that, come on, it's true. Good thing Mariko's not here. She'd scold me. She's much nicer. And besides, the Toyota has it all over the Porsche in pricing. The Sport Turismo e-Hybrid starts at $108,000, and it's easy to option this Porsche up to the 125 grand level, and that's without head-up display, rear axle steering, and ceramic composite brakes, which would bump it up closer to $140,000. In this neck of the woods, it's far more common to see these kinds of vehicles than a Porsche. Embrace the local culture.
Cars are obviously about design, technology, engineering, but they're also tools that can take you to new experiences. I've never done any kind of Mardi Gras thing.
Happy Mardi Gras! Happy Mardi Gras!
In a celebration that seems to be about keeping all of Asia busy producing plastic beads for half the year, the good people of Alabama are embracing car culture at the same time. There was a lot to look at in that department.
Aww.
Beads, moon pies, and even plush toys are not the only things being tossed out. There's this, and yes, even this. It follows me everywhere. Sport Turismo's cabin is no different from any other Panamera, or Porsche for that matter. It's well-crafted and all business. Metal trim looks extruded and forged, not molded and painted. Small details like lined pockets keep things from rattling. Displays that flank the tachometer can be customized. Love the glass roof, and no, I didn't drive off with those on top. Porsche engineers could have just offered a knob to direct airflow. Why do that when it can be done by touchscreen? For road tripping, storage here is not all that generous, and the cup holders are a bit far back to reach. The interface is a touchscreen affair with snappy response. Shortcuts on the console help to find sections faster. There is no Android Auto, but Apple CarPlay is my co-pilot. I found it to be very touchy about using the right lightning cord. Mariko's on vacation too, and she's not a car person, so I got up early and she's sleeping in. I'm going to talk to you about performance. Now, this is a plug-in hybrid, similar in concept to a Chevy Volt, but it's a Porsche, and it has Porsche performance. With the proper launch technique, Porsche says 0 to 60 miles an hour happens in a scant 4.4 seconds. And the low-end torque of the electric motors really move this thing off the line. This thing can scoot. The eye-blink shifts of the dual-clutch gearbox are a joy to behold. Soon they drop into the background because they're seamless. Panamera e-Hybrid has great performance, though traditional Porsche buyers may not care for the extra layer of technology and electrification. I get that. But really, this car can attract its own kind of enthusiast. It's kind of fun to pay attention to the powertrain, even though it's very, very subtle. At some 4,800 pounds, it feels both substantial and light on its feet. Confident cornering is what you'd expect from a top-shelf Grand Touring car, though most of the roads I traveled were limited to gentle curves, and I didn't want to make Mariko carsick. We're putting a lot of miles on this car in 8 days, and it might be the perfect road trip vehicle. For one thing, it's a Porsche, so it handles great. It's a Porsche, of course. It's also comfortable, it's quiet, it's efficient, it's roomy. What else do you want? Adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist are available, but this particular car is not so equipped, and I'm okay with that. I enjoy actively driving this car. The e-Hybrid can travel at up to 87 miles an hour under pure electric propulsion. To get to the next Waffle House, compared to the standard Panamera, the Sport Turismo is an alternative to a crossover, though the low roof means less cargo space. The load floor with no lip is much lower than a Cayenne, though if a raised ride height is something that you're looking for, an SUV is the way to go. Sport Turismo doesn't have a massive boot, but it's flexible enough to help out with the chores. Panamera rides low. You really drop into the back seat when getting in.
But the cushions are high, so thigh support is great. Now, there are belts for 3 back here. I would definitely keep it to 2. This center console is huge.
Phones can be topped off. Nice. The 4 of us took the Panamera to Fairhope, Alabama to see Sheldon's Castle, and it was a comfortable drive, and you thought you were good at MacGyvering things. Craig and Annie Shelton built this house for their 3 kids during the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Took a while, but it's worth a visit, and apparently Casey Affleck is in town shooting a movie. Now, part of the reason we traveled was my dad's birthday. This is both the best rendition and worst performance of Happy Birthday I've ever witnessed. And we got to savor some fine Southern cooking with fancy names like this. There was a bottomless pit of food here and good old Southern hospitality. Really, they were very nice and huge fans of the Auburn football program. Couldn't resist that dig. All too soon, it's time to leave Mom and Dad and Ruby. Good luck with the training, folks, and head north.
Hello.
The beauty of a plug-in hybrid is owners can use much less or even no gasoline on a regular basis. Even at 20 miles a day, that's 7,300 miles annually. Covering very long distances in a single day, there's no concern about finding an open charger, then waiting for the battery to juice up. Until rapid charging, like the kind Porsche is introducing with the Taycan, becomes common, and it will be a while, plug-ins are a good option for impatient people needing to cover vast distances in a day, but still want an EV on a regular basis.
This is a hybrid, and it does hybrid powertrain sorts of things, but you may not notice all of the gyrations happening because it is so well integrated. For example, right now I'm traveling at highway speeds, and the engine can sometimes just shut off. Porsche calls that sailing, and it is so smooth, you may not even notice it unless you're looking at the tachometer.
And we finally stopped for fuel after 450 miles. While I appreciate German engineering, there's nothing like good old American excess. This is not a hall of mirrors. There really are that many gas pumps because, well, I suppose, and not one EV charger to be found. If you can't scare up something to eat here, well, you're probably vegan. It seems like meat is high on the snack priority. And the restrooms are legendary, but I draw the line shooting inside the men's room, okay? The EPA rates the e-hybrid's powertrain efficiency at 51 mpge. Overall, we saw about 35 miles per gallon.
And really, that's pretty good. This is a big, powerful car, and I have not been driving slow.
Returning to Atlanta took us through Montgomery, Alabama. You want American history? This city is steeped in it. I'm not much of a museum guy, but this is an impressive site that puts civil rights history into sharp perspective, very illuminating. And nearly everywhere you walk, there's a reminder of what happened back during the time of diner sit-ins and the bus boycott, which is really not that long ago if you think about it. The most powerful is the National Memorial for Peace and Justice. Video isn't allowed inside, but each monolith represents a U.S. county where victims were lynched with their names inscribed. I've traveled around the world and haven't seen anything more powerful. It's not a downer, it's incredibly enlightening. And a cuisine tip, the Caribbean food at Savannah Tropical Rotisserie Cafe was delicious. Our final stop was a couple days in Atlanta. Porsche is not the only German car company with its U.S. headquarters here. My, what a big star you have! After spending 5 days with the vehicle, you get to know the lines very well. The second-generation Panamera is much more balanced and fluid than the first one. Even the e-hybrid's acid green accents grew on me, though I suppose different paint colors pair better than others. And since automotive writers all tend to like station wagons, I find the Sport Turismo rather fetching.
Personally, I think this is the best looking of the Panameras. You may disagree. Discuss amongst yourselves.
And if you find yourself in Atlanta, you'll find great places to eat like yes, this, but also Victory Sandwich Bar. Cheap and good is my favorite food combination. It's just off Atlanta's Beltline, which is a walking and bike trail. Ponce City Market, an old Sears and Roebuck's warehouse, is very cool. Hops Fried Chicken is delicious. Also, don't miss the birthplace of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. And if you take a tour of CNN World Headquarters, you can ride on the world's longest escalator. It's a great city to visit. Wish we would have come sooner. If you have the means to see the country in a Panamera, I highly recommend it. It's roomy, comfortable, poised, powerful, and capable in all kinds of conditions. Plus, it's a plug-in hybrid, and in my opinion, the segment is vastly underrated by a lot of people. The biggest gripe I have about this vehicle is price. It's expensive when adding options, but that's not unexpected. Considering this alternative, the Porsche is the German I'd much rather drive. FYI, at the Porsche headquarters, here's a look at the future. These 800-volt stations should give the Taycan EV around 240 miles of range in 15 minutes. Obviously, they will be scarce at first, but looking down the road 5 years, the EV infrastructure looks promising. A couple of shout-outs to this documentary-length video. First, my lovely wife, Mariko. It takes time to shoot these videos, and she's very supportive, driving the car so I can get running footage, which eats into vacation time. My parents were also a big help, especially my dad. I mounted cameras on his truck to get additional footage. We took the Porsche out together one morning. He's one reason why I'm an enthusiast. He always came home with cool cars when I was growing up. And finally, Ruby. Okay, Ruby did nothing, but cute dogs are always good to have in a video. Oh, no, really finally, David Rust, who is one of the original hires when CNN began and a legendary photojournalist that has seen the world 10 times over. He gave Mariko and I an extensive tour of the studios. Fascinating guy. I could have talked history and camera gear with him for hours.
Well, hope you enjoyed my trip as much as I enjoyed my trip and this look at the Porsche Panamera e-hybrid. You know, my wife told me, and I think she's right, you're the only person I know that brings microfiber towels on vacation to detail cars. It's who I am. It's what I do. That's Driven. I'm Tom Voelk. So my parents needed to come to the warehouse store to grab a few things, so I could do the TP test. Actually, nah, I'm on vacation.